of all the sports teams that exist, certain countries have a big one or two, but we're proud to say our podcast is about the biggest team in the entire world.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah! This is the World's Team Podcast. All about the world's team, the Dallas Cowboys, baby. We're here to redefine what it means to be a fan of the gridiron game. It's not just America's team anymore. Nope. We're taking that star-studded pride and spreading it across the globe. Each week, we dive into all things Cowboys. From game analysis that'll have you on the edge of your seat, to reactions on all the latest news. Whether it's free agency frenzy, draft day drama, or injury reports that make us want to hug our lucky jerseys a little tighter. We're bringing in fan groups from all over the place, from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. Everybody gets to share their 2 cents on America's favorite team.
And here we go.
America's team, Mexico's team, world's team, my Dallas Cowboys.
And now your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
Hello, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to another episode of the World's Team. Today is the 4th of January, so Happy New Year, everyone. But yes, it is not just America's team, it is the world's team. And as always, I am joined by my brother in arms. You can find him on bloggingtheboys.com. It's no other than Mr. Mike Poland. How are we doing, bro?
Yeah, all good. I mean, how was your New Year's? I know you have, when it comes to New Year's, you kind of tend to chill and relax, but how did it go?
Yeah, it was alright. I just spent time with the family, had a bit with my dog, but nothing exciting, to be honest. Especially when everything's all closed and there's nothing really much to do besides just chill with the family, you know what I mean? But just before New Year's, obviously, we do need to talk about our absolute manhandling by the Eagles, where we lost that game by a significant margin. Not just with what's the quarterback's name? Kenny Pickett, but also Tanner McKee as well. Yeah. So not a good day in the office. And but we do appreciate the Eagles fans coming onto our video and sending some abuse. So, and obviously some comments that actually kind of some positive constructive criticism. We get it. So we really appreciate you all for swinging by. Regardless if you don't like the Cowboys or not, we still appreciate you coming by, and actually it helps us out as well. So, and but how we doing anyway, Mike? What was your thoughts about the game?
Whew. So this season, especially on defense, with everything that's been going on at the cornerback position, especially, their defensive backs have sort of been the rock that has tried to break the tide. You see that throughout the season. And I think against the Eagles, you finally saw that rock break. They were done. There was nothing left in the tank there. Andrew Booth, all right? We've had conversations about him before. And I mean, it got so bad with Andrew Booth, they ended up benching it. I think that experiment is done. For me personally, I think Andrew Booth, his time in the NFL is done. This year's take.
I agree.
Kind of sealed the deal. But you just saw in that game, basically the defensive backs just trying their best to try and, hold back the tide. And eventually, it broke. And that's what you saw. You just saw a dissemination, just a complete obliteration. Saquon Barkley went for over 160 yards. I mean, he had a day. So they're actually going to bench him for this week. And I get it. I get it
as well. But at the same time, and as much as we dislike the Eagles and whatever you say you want them, but from a player personal record point
as a
of view,
fan,
as a fan, yes, you still want like you still want to see Saquon make some achievements regardless. Whether you hate him or you love him, doesn't matter. Like having those type of achievements to kind of like, I suppose there is a debate though, because when it comes to Eric Dickerson's record, it was all based, was it 16 games he did it in?
Yeah.
So, and having to do it in 17 games, it still kind of doesn't really technically beat the record per se. If he was to do it last week, then yeah, all kudos all for to Saquon Barkley. But I mean, I suppose resting him, getting ready for the playoffs, because the Eagles are pretty much the NFC East champions. We are absolute dog water. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Mike. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We are absolutely terrible. We really are. And I'm not looking forward to our off season, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, mate, because we've got so much to fix, a lot of things to fix, and we still have one game left against the Commanders. So, but my overall thought in the game, it just kind of felt like everyone was just worn out. We were up against a much better team, well equipped. And
the Eagles are fighting for something as well. You can't
100%.
take that away.
100%. Like the Eagles had everything to fight for in terms of like securing their spot, make sure like Washington doesn't creep up, or like the chances of that were pretty slim. But it was all there for the Eagles to win anyway. But they did it in a very convincing fashion. So they definitely put us on our place last week, and fair play to them. But for us to evaluate, there's just a lot of things we do need to address, like from offensive line to running back, and particularly, like, don't get me wrong, Rico Dowdle did get 1,000 yards a season. Like, he's broke that mold, like first ever undrafted in Cowboys history to do that.
Correct.
I mean, great achievement, but we're still lacking something in the running back department. And obviously now, with the news of Ezekiel Elliott being released, it just adds more salt to the wind this year of what it feels like one of those it's one of those TV shows. It feels like we're watching a Carry On movie where everything goes wrong. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, mate. We've had some okay moments in the season. Nothing spectacular in this season at all. Like from Dak getting injured to the contracts to the limited off-season acquisitions to the desperation in the draft, like trading away draft picks for a quarterback who we don't use, we do not use, and another 4th-round draft pick on a wide receiver. Time will tell in that one, but Mike, I just want this season to be over with and try and fix.
I mean, like, you're talking about, you're talking as well of just the tip of the iceberg, because, the roster needs changing, but don't forget, Mike McCarthy's done, Zimmer's done. What's Al Harris going to be doing around here? God. Well, do you know what I mean? There's
a lot of question marks in this football team right now. Like, I'm actually kind of debating what to call this actual this episode. Like, should we just call this episode of 10 question marks? That's one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough ride, but like on top of all of that, when you stop and you actually think on the foundation of the failures of this season was basically, and it's not an excuse, I'm not saying that this is an excuse for it, but injuries played the biggest part.
Oh, yeah. 100%,
we had so many starters go out. Sam Williams went out before the season started. Deron Bland, Tank. These players, you had...
Nealand went out for a while. Diggs was out for a while. Parsons was out for a while. Dak is out for this season. Like
Zach Martin.
It's like we had CD Lamb, like, not out per se. Well, he is now out for the season now. He was playing injured, but again, no, it should be like going back to the whole Bill Belichick. It should be the next man up. Like according to our front office, we had the team equipped to do it. Clearly not.
Clearly
it falls back onto the front office of taking their word for granted, saying, "Oh yeah, like whoever comes in, next man up, or whatever, not they can do the job." clearly there's a big difference in terms of our starters to our our backups. So,
and the similar thing happened with the 49ers this season. Exact same boat.
That's a really good point, because the 49ers have done since they lost McCaffrey, they went right downhill. So, but interest, it's been a really weird season, but there has been no surprise. Like, just kind of looking overall at the general aspect of the NFL, especially in the NFC, like there's no surprise the Lions are going to be doing well this year. There was a kind of like, when it comes to the Eagles, I wasn't too sure if the Eagles were going to replicate seasons before, but they've managed to do it again. And fair play, as much as I dislike the head coach Sirianni, as much as I dislike him, but he's got them playing he's got them rounded up pretty well. And obviously, because they lost Jason Kelsey from retirement, you've got Cam Jurgens there and filling the void, who I thought he had actually, like, from looking at in the line of the trenches, Cam Jurgens looked phenomenal. I thought he actually had a great game for the Eagles. Yeah. But kind of moving on though, Mike. Even though it's a bit depressing talking about, but we're actually going into more depression talking about the next game, our final home game of the season against the Washington Commanders, which they still have something to play for in terms of the seeding rankings, in terms of how the playoffs work. So, but before we do that, we'll go into the news and updates, and once we're done with that, we'll head to a commercial break. Then we'll start breaking down the pregame for the Commanders. All right. So hit me with it, Mike. What is the news and updates for this game?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we've only got one player who's definitively out for this week. Ironically, it's a cornerback. Keeman Hall, so it continues. So Chimuredoga, Mazzi's. Go on.
I was just going to say, if you're not a Cowboys fan watching this show, just enjoy our pain right now. Like this is your top tier comedy gold right now. So there you go.
Then you got Chimuredoga, Mazzi Smith, Nick Vigil, linebacker, and Donovan Smith, all questionable for this week. The big news, though, coming out, there's been a lot of whispers that we've seen the last of Cooper Rush, and this is going to be a Trey Lance game.
Yeah, I have seen the rumors of that. But I suppose if there's... I mean, to me, I get why we'll put him in, just to see if there is any reason to bring them back. But to me, it's been arguably, in my personal opinion, like one of the worst trades we've ever done as an organization. It really has been. Oh, is that your phone going off?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So,
sorry, somebody trying to contact me. My bad. Go on.
It just feels like just the whole Trey Lance situation. I still remember when Cowboys fans, we got a new quarterback to replace Dak Prescott. I'm like, okay, well, clearly he's not doing it. Like, he's making really bad reads. There's just a few things that I meant to really mention now why I don't think he is, but I'm not going to go into much detail because it's just not even worth the energy and hassle to debate it. Because as far as I'm concerned, Trey Lance is gone, and possibly even Cooper Rush. I think, this is my personal opinion, Mike, and we will break down this as the lead up coming up for the NFL draft. We've got a couple of months till the draft, and we're going to be breaking down a lot of things in that. But I definitely think we're going to be drafting a quarterback and maybe like the 5th round or something like that.
Okay. That was going to be this week's Would You Rather. Don't worry, I'll change it up.
Oh, was it? That's a spoiler alert.
Well, I'm going to have to change the Would You Rather now. Don't worry, I'll think on the fly.
All right, cool. Dear. But yes, so that's the news and updates. So before we go into the pre-game discussion, we'll be back in one moment with a moment from our sponsor.
The World's Team Podcast is brought to you by Cowboys Experience, the ultimate Cowboys experience with stadium tours, meet and greets, tailgating, game tickets, and much more. For more information, please go to www.cowboysexperience.com.
Yeah, be sure to check out cowboysexperience.com. Be sure to use the discount code WorldsTeam2024 for your upcoming Cowboys package. But yes, Mike, the final home game of the season, against the Washington Commanders, who we were surprisingly beat last time in a pure surprising way, obviously with the missed field goal and obviously the onside kick. Like that game, the last time we played the Commanders was just absolutely batshit crazy.
Oh yeah.
Excuse my language, but it was crazy. All right. So, but yeah, Mike, give me your thoughts going into this game, because obviously Washington are they are really going to be fighting for trying to improve their rankings per se when it comes to the playoff bracket, for the wild card spot, depending if they've got on field advantage or
exactly.
Yeah, so they've got a lot to play for. So hit me with it, Mike.
So obviously this is going to be the type of game now for Mike McCarthy to really churn the roster, find out who the down roster guys are, play them, get them on there, rotate, because why not? What's the point as well in putting guys in harm's way? Like, for instance, Micah Parsons. Do you really want him to strain a muscle, like tear an ACL this start of the season, at this end of the season, and then you lose him for the majority of next season? There's no point at this stage. We already talked about Trey Lance. I think Rico Dowdle, he continues to do his thing. You can have guys like Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Brandon Cooks doing their thing. Offensive line, I know Dakota Shipley. So our friend.
Yeah.
So he's been raised up from the practice squad. So I think that's telling in what the Cowboys are looking to do here. They want to go into this game finding out what they've got. There's nothing to play for, really. If they beat the Commanders, it doesn't really change much. So I feel this is a game where and if you remember the last time we played them, ironically, it was a cornerback, Josh Butler, who really had a standout game that helped us win that game.
Yeah, that injury still really bugs me, because he was doing so well since he came into the team. He really was, and I hope he does. He's one of the guys that gets a contract to come back. I really do. But just to point out, though, Mike, when you say there's nothing to play for, I disagree. Every player on one of who's based on the contracts set up are fighting for their jobs.
Agree.
Whether they're one of Steven's guys or Jerry's guys, whatever that may be.
Yes.
Take that with a pinch of salt as you may see fit, but their jobs are up for the line. Make no mistake, and that is something to fight for. This is your last chance opportunity, and that's that season over. And then obviously teams are going to evaluate how you play over the season. Is it worth you bringing in? Is it worth you giving you a good contract? There's all of that. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
When I was saying there's nothing to play for, I meant in terms of result-wise.
It's
very much like a playoff game where you're not looking at the result. You're looking at individual performances and being able to evaluate from there. Because then, going forward then, what direction you want to take this team in the draft and through free agency. So this is an important stage of it, really, an important process. So in terms of what the team need to do, I mean, these guys are going to go out there and fight to the bitter end because they're players. That's what they do. But I think in terms of do they want to win the game or do they want? I mean, winning would be great and all the rest of it, but it's more than anything, you want to really see what you've got in an individual on these down roster guys going forward.
Yeah, totally. It's funny that you mentioned the backups and stuff like that. All these players up for contracts. I'm just and fun enough. I'm just looking and I'm taking a wee side. From what we're just talking about here, I've just got the stats between Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush right now. So this is going to be quite interesting to really break down. So obviously Dak played for 8 games and Cooper Rush played for 12. This is including preseason and all that type of stuff, all right? This is this is all of it, right?
Go on.
So Dak Prescott, attempts-wise, 286. Cooper Rush, 308. In terms of completions, Dak is 185, and Cooper Rush has only got 2 more completions, despite how many more attempts he has. In terms of the completion rate, Dak's got 64.7%, Cooper Rush has got 60.7%. And even in terms of passing yards, Dak has got more than, let me see, 134 passing yards more than Cooper Rush.
Mhm.
In terms of average per game, this is the big one. 247.3 for Dak, 153.7 for Cooper Rush. And when you look at the touchdowns and interception rate, yeah, I guess that's the kind of whatever on that. But touchdowns wise, Dak's got 11 within 8 games. And in terms of 12 games, Cooper Rush has got 12. So it's not great. It's not great at all.
Okay, but context matters, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
this is my argument with this, and I had this with a few people in the game day chat. All right, on the
No, but
surface, at the surface level,
but what I mean is though, Mike, I'm kind of like it kind of puts things in perspective for people who say, "Oh, we should play more Cooper Rush." I'm are you crazy?
yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
No, definitely, because like we had this was going on all last week, and what do we see on the first drive from Cooper Rush? We see a pick six, and it's like there you go,
Fumbles. That's the biggest thing for me, Mike. Is the
fumbles.
How many games has Cooper Rush actually fumbled the ball? In fact, you know
Every
what?
single one he's been in.
Yeah. You know what? You know what? I've got something in store for later on this show. Actually, more I think about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like for me, context matters, and I tried explaining this to somebody, and I was like, okay, you're looking at it at a surface level, and yeah, side by side on paper, that's how it looks. But what did Dak not have while he was in it? Didn't have a defense. What else did he not have? Didn't have an offensive line. Didn't have a running game because they were trying to force Zeke and they weren't giving Rico the opportunity. What was different when Cooper Rush was in? The defense suddenly were playing a lot better because you see that in the passing yards.
I wouldn't put that because that's Cooper Rush. I put that towards
No.
I would actually put that towards the fact that the defense actually waked the hell up and actually understood.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I'm not saying it's because of Cooper Rush. No. What I'm saying is when Cooper Rush was in there, the defense was playing better. The running game was better. You had games where it was basically throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb and let CeeDee Lamb make plays. That was the idea. When Dak was in there, it was always playing catch up because there was no defense. They didn't have a running game. So Dak was having to force things. Context really, really does matter when it comes to statistics.
And yeah, he still has better stats overall than Cooper Rush. After that's including your preseason games, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's not much like obviously the sack count's a bit higher for Dak, obviously, and that kind of boils down to what your point making is that the O-line was not that great at the time. Like that,
and they're playing one-dimensionally, so you didn't have to defend. Yeah. Opposition didn't have to defend the run. There was no threat there, so it was just pass rush.
Yep, not totally 100%. But yeah, going back to the Commanders game, unfortunately, and I really am dreading this game, Mike. Like, because like I said, I really want this season to be over. I really do. But give me your thoughts. What is the keys to victory in this game? If there's any. I'm sorry. I know I'm being really negative here, but you can't help it because as a fan, I'm just sick of this season. I've had enough of this year. I just want to focus on how we're going to rebuild from this, which has been an absolute disaster from pretty much this exact same point from last year.
Yeah.
Since the Green Bay game last year. Since then, it's just been gone. Crap.
Yeah. I mean, look, if we look at the defensive situation for the teams, here's one advantage I can think of in terms of playing Trey Lance here is that you've got Rico Dowdle, you've got Trey Lance, who we know is a mobile quarterback. He's more a rushing quarterback than he is anything else. The Commanders are really bad at defending the run. They are just as bad, as the Cowboys. They rank side by side in terms of rush yards allowed per game.
Yeah.
So you have the two. You could, if you're smart enough and willing enough, you put the two together and you start trying to be a bit sneaky, a bit RPO-ish, a bit wildcat-ish as well, if you wanted to. And you just
get
run.
more.
You just,
yeah, you could even throw Hunter Lupke in there, mix in there as well.
yeah, stick a bit of Lipke in there. Maybe Kevontae Turpin on a couple of sweeps, jet sweeps in the backfield.
Don't get me wrong, some of the jet sweeps have worked this year. Don't get me wrong, but like just the idea of me and just me in general, I just don't like the jet sweeps because it can be a recipe of disaster.
Yeah, it is annoying.
Like it looks amazing where it works, but when it doesn't, you're like, "What the hell are we thinking?" You know.
Boom or best plays, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I think it's just run at them. You know, the old British Army saying straight at them, and that's just what you've got to do is just run at them. In terms of defense, I really don't know. The only big thing I can say is Terry McLaurin last week had a dang game. It was bad. I think he went for like about 4 yards. And he was like targeted about 10 times as well. So there is that in your favor. Cowboys, can they get to the pass rush in the backfield and provide enough pressure? That's the big question mark. They do that, then that would be a key to victory. But I don't see it because they're going to have too many rotation players in.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. But yeah, so for me, Mike, I really am kind of struggling. Like, obviously, I do agree with you that with the sentiment of the run game is going to be vital with Rico Dowdo. It's going to be a confidence booster for him. Obviously, CD Lamb's not going to be there, so it's going to add more. But it's going to be a more test of see how they can do for likes of the guys like Fournoy, Tolbert. Can they take the next level up type of thing? So, but I'll be perfectly honest, Mike, I'm not expecting a great lot from this game. Like, especially with the Commanders have it all to play for to really boost their chances of getting a better slot in the playoffs. So, but yeah, I'm going to be very general on this week's episode. Not going to go into much detail because I've just had enough, man. I really have.
Well, you're doing that to yourself.
I know. There's no point breaking it down like too much, but yeah, but before, but yes, but we'll try and finish this up quickly though. So before we do, Mike, hit me with your would you rather then, because this should be funny.
All right, yeah, here we go. I'll put a bit of light on things. Okay, would you rather next season Rico Dowdle is our starting running back, so he comes back, or take somebody in the draft?
Take someone in the draft. I'm sorry. Get younger wheels in the bus. Someone that's a more powerful runner. Like if we're able to get Gentry or one of the other guys in the second round, what's the Cam Scatterbo?
Yeah,
Scatterbo, like something like that. I would be happy with. At least it's something. He
was the main player in that Texas Longhorns game.
100%. And it's so hard to take down as well. This is exactly what we need. A running back. It's not hard. It's so difficult to tackle down. But yeah,
and he throws touchdown passes too.
There you go. All right, Mike. We'll try and get this done quickly as possible. And we do apologize, folks. This is a short one because you can understand how we feel about this. But what is your bold prediction for this week, Mike?
All right, my bold prediction is, let me have a think now. All right, I got one. Maurice Liafu, sack fumble, picks up the ball, touchdown.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're going to laugh at mine.
Come on.
Cooper Rush fumble.
So he's coming in for a play, is he?
Cooper Rush is going to be in the game at some point. He's going to fumble the ball at the line of scrimmage.
I'm with you.
It's happened so many times this year.
This is true.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right. All right. For the last time this season, Mike, give me your score prediction.
I think Washington win 30-17.
I am not far off from that. I am going to say Washington are going to come out guns blazing. Terry McLaurin's going to have a great game, and I think it's going to be Washington 33, Cowboys 17 as well. So I'm 3 points off from you.
Yeah,
3 points.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the best end how we want to end this week's show or the 2024 season, but we deserve the criticism as much as we want, Chris. But hopefully things will turn better going into the off season. Hopefully we can start change things, but we just have to wait and see. But as going forward, though, we obviously will be covering the rest of the NFL leading up to the Super Bowl. And obviously kind of looking into some college prospects. But once the NFL season's over, that's when, especially Mike, is going to be on full NFL draft mode. So if there's players that you're not aware of, this guy will fill you in. All right. But anyways, folks, thanks again for swinging by to another episode of the World's Team. But before we do go, Mike, please tell everyone where everyone can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at kenfigkowboy, Kenfig with a K, Cowboy with a K, and you, Mr. P.
You can find me at iampstew at Instagram and Twitter, and also you can find our social media for the World's Team down below on our screen. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, we'll provide the links in our description. But yes, folks, as always, I shouldn't really be saying our tagline right now because we don't really feel like the World's Team right now. You know what I mean? But anyway, folks, we'll be back next week to cover the recap of the show. But until then, folks, have a great weekend. And finally, once again, Happy New Year once again, everyone. And have a great time, all right? All the best. And go Cowboys.
You've been listening to the World's Team Podcast. There's no other team like it in the world. Nothing more electrifying than the Dallas Cowboys. And we're here to prove it. We bring in fan groups from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. We're everywhere, baby. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at the.worlds.team, on Twitter at _worlds_team, and on YouTube at the World's Team. How about them Cowboys?
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
See you next time.